Broadcasting live from Moment 98.5. This is an iPhone 11 Pro vs. XS Max review.
Alright guys, welcome to our video about the iPhone 11 Pro. We're excited to be one of the first ones on the internet, one of the first ones you've watched.
Very first.
And be the first ones to dive into this camera. Nah man, we're like the 1,000th video.
What's up everybody? It's your boys, Niles and Caleb. Don't know why I said that. We are here with another video about the iPhone 11 Pro. We are stoked. We are gonna do a shootout today between the 11 Pro and last year's model, the XS Max. Turn towards me a little more. That's so fire. Bowie, food? Bowie, Snickers, you want a Snickers bar?
So the main question that we want to answer in this video is it worth the upgrade? The XS Max was a cool phone. The 11 Pro seems to have a bunch of cool features, but
it's a Pro.
It's a Pro. It's a Pro version, but what makes it Pro? Is it worth it? The upgrade, is it worth the money? We know phones are expensive, so hopefully this video will help you answer that question.
So usually we go out and shoot a video, like a vlog, and we actually just give you our live reaction.
What up?
Yeah.
We out here.
But this time we actually went and shot, brought the footage back, brought the photos back, and we've been able to look at it, do some pixel peeping, and so this video you'll get a little bit more of our critique on how the difference is looking. All right, so looking at this first image, we have a shot of the trailhead, just getting to the sign and just some trees in the background. And what I noticed first is that the iPhone 11 Pro has a little bit richer colors and the tone overall is slightly warmer. Dynamic range looks about the same, and on this shot, the sharpness looks about the same too.
In this next shot of a very P&W bathroom that could also be a mini house with a chimney, we see the 11 Pro having a little more sharpness. In the XS Max, you see the greens, the leaves, they look a little bit mushy, when on the 11 Pro, everything's very sharp. The edge is very sharp. I will say that sometimes when things are too sharp, it can look a little cheesy, it can look a little digital, so sometimes you want to find that happy medium. But in this photo, I would give the upper hand to the 11 Pro just because you can actually see the leaves when you zoom in.
All right, so before we headed up the trail, I had to get a portrait shot of Niles and his baby girl, Luca. Portrait mode on the iPhone, it defaults to the telephoto lens. The iPhone 11 Pro has the option for that wide angle portrait mode, which is super nice. So comparing the two shots on the regular portrait mode focal lengths between the two phones, the 11 Pro actually looks a little bit more natural. It's a lot smoother on the skin tones and there's less grain. I think both do a great job, and you can adjust the amount of blur in the background on both phones. So yeah, and they do a great job of edge detection. I just think the upper hand a little bit does go to the 11 Pro on this one.
I look like such a dad in that photo.
Dad bod. This is us hiking because I don't have footage. Give me a wave, everybody.
All right, so when we got to the top, we wanted to test out the time-lapse feature. This is a feature we don't use a ton, but that when we do use it, you want the best looking image. This is a huge win for the 11 Pro. The XS Max looked pretty bad. It was a little bit lower light, you know. Maybe
we were shooting into the light as well.
Yeah, we were shooting like into some harsh light, and the light was changing a lot, but the 11 Pro looks a lot better. It's not perfect, but in this case, in that setting, the 11 Pro's time-lapse definitely looks better.
This whole video is shot in the native app. We have obviously the Moment Pro camera app. We have third-party apps we shoot in. Similar to time-lapse mode, there's probably ones that export in 4K or have more control, but this, native only. What am I doing?
Yeah.
So looking at this first shot here of the view of the lake, and you got some logs going into the water, you got nice color in the background, sky's blue. Yeah, 11 Pro does take the upper hand, in my opinion. I think it looks a little bit sharper, tones are richer.
Face value, just looking at the photo with the 11 Pro, I would say that it looks a little too oversaturated, but when compared to the XS Max, I like it a lot more. Basically, if you look at the mountains and you look at those blues, it looks super mushy on the XS Max, which to me just screams like that's a phone photo. When on the 11 Pro, it's not as bad, and you see a little more detail in those trees.
We're gonna flip through a few different photos now, just while we are up on this hike, and just do a nice side-by-side comparison. Kind of everything holds true to what we've been saying while looking at these. The colors are a little bit richer. There's a little bit more sharpness.
And there's a little more shadow detail. I think that's kind of what I'm trying, that's what I'm seeing the most, is like the details in the shadows are better on the 11 Pro.
This is.
Wait, what does that button do? This little.
It squeezes it.
Oh, so that makes it go back to what it was.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take this one. You take that one.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
What one are you looking at?
I don't know. Which one are you looking
Oh, dude,
at?
you have so much left. I'm so jealous. Dude, will you pour some in here for me?
No. If you think we're giving praise entirely to the new 11 Pro, it's good, but one thing that's super weird is the actual, like, the way the lenses are on the back of the phone is new. Like, it's the little circles.
There's three, if you didn't know.
They each stick up a little bit, and there's, like, an edge. What we saw with the flares is unlike any other iPhone flares. It actually
we've
would,
never
like,
seen it before.
it would hit the side of the lens, and then in your shot, you'd get this, like, half-moon circle flare.
Yeah, and sometimes it was like rainbow, sometimes it was like a kind of a washout.
And it didn't look good. And that was only really happening on the 11 Pro because of the circle, like, sticky out lens design.
Yeah, and flares can be cool, but not always. Like, you want to have the option to have the flare in it or not. Well, that's gonna wrap up our photo shoot time here in the mountains. Back to the house. So after the hike, we waited for nightfall so we could go test low light.
Dude, what up?
What's up, Stokers? Just out here, gonna test some low light.
Low light is a big feature that Apple was pushing on the iPhone 11 Pro, so we had to put it to the test, and all the other iPhones haven't really done amazing in low light. They're not terrible, but they haven't had a dedicated night mode feature.
Night mode. We went to a classic 24-hour donut shop in Everett, Washington, and just got shooting.
Okay, so overall, a couple things to note with night mode. You really should use a tripod if you want the best results, because what you're doing is essentially letting the shutter, like, be open for a little bit longer, and it blends a couple different images that it processes together. So even in this shot right here that you can see of Niles, it looks amazing, but he moved just a tiny bit. Like, the camera was on a tripod, but his face is a little bit blurry because he moved, but you can see the background looks awesome. All the lights, it just really draws in a lot of lights. So I think it does do a really good job compared to last year's model, compared to all the other iPhones really, but the XS Max, as you can see here, it doesn't do as well. It's a little more grainy, and it doesn't have that, like, depthy, low light look to it. The other thing to note is when we were pointing the phones directly at the donut shop, there's a lot of just harsh, not even harsh, but ambient light coming off the lights from the donut shop. It wasn't able to actually put it into, like, long exposure night mode. So I think unless the phone is detecting that there's, like, no harsh light source, it's not gonna let, even though it was on the tripod, it still didn't let it do its, like, long exposure deal.
My biggest gripe with night mode is basically how auto it is. It was seemingly kind of clunky to use. Basically,
The
when
UI's weird.
yeah, like the UI is kind of funky. So when I would click it and slide it over to like 3 seconds, that was the max I could do. I feel like they should just let me go to 30 seconds if I want to.
And blow it out.
And blow it out.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to bracket some photos and I want to expose for the sky and then the building. Can you bless me some of that?
No. So we also popped it over to video mode just to see how it handled in low light. Low light video test.
This is a low light video test. Here we have the 11 Pro. How's it look? XS Max. Yeah.
You can see how both phones look pretty crappy in this low of light, so I would recommend highly to get good light when you're shooting video on your phone. I mean, the 11 does better. Like, if this is just a test between the two, the 11 looks quite a bit better in low light.
But it's like negligibly better. Like, both are still pretty bad.
Yeah, in the words of a filmmaker friend, Jacob Blank, if it already is gonna look crappy,
just make it look worse.
just crank the grain.
Yeah.
Like, just edit that thing and make it look worse.
Yeah, like if it's gonna look bad, make it look really bad, and then it's art.
All right, so now let's get into the video comparison section of this shootout. We went and rented a boat. Just kidding, it was my parents.
Arms up on the boat. It's like, take your shirt off, dude. Let's go. All right, what's up, guys? We are out here on the boat. We probably already told you what we're doing, so I'll just cut right to it. We're gonna test some video on the 11 Pro and the XS Max. Oh, dude, you're almost gone.
They were nice enough to let us go out on the boat, drive us around, and really, we just wanted some action because the way we shoot a lot of video, I mean, whether it's regular still life or it's action, we figured we'd try to be like GoPro.
For the video portion of these tests, we just like to go have fun and do things that we enjoy. I've never been wake surfing. but it made for a good scene.
So we shot 4K 24 frames per second on both phones, 4K 60 frames per second, just to see the main two differences, and then we shot 1080 240 because both phones support that. Between both devices, none of the frame rates on videos have changed, except for that front-facing camera.
All right, selfie camera test. How's the audio? Hey Niles, selfie!
If you're looking to vlog on your phone, the 11 Pro is probably one of the better phones for that. Oh, finally, dude.
All right, so we were out on the boat and we had the phones rigged up side by side. So framing, again, like I said earlier, it might be a tiny bit off, but the rig, this is no gimbal, this is stabilized just by the hand.
Yeah, so the things that are most important to us in video, I would say, are dynamic range and the colors that you get out of the camera. And I would say the 11 Pro, it looks better. I think for me, the skin tones is a huge difference maker. I think the 11 Pro is a little more peachy, it's a little more natural, when the XS Max was always a little red. Like, if you shot sunset or if you were shooting someone in harsh light on their face, like there's this kind of like washout red weirdness on their face that I just didn't like at all. And the 11 Pro, they seem to have fixed that.
It's weird how every year of the phone, like something small like that can change. And like Apple obviously won't make a big deal about like, we've improved like skin tones and all that, but like the little things that we look for with like our phones as cameras, like are those things.
A frame rate that I was super impressed with was 4K 60 on the 2X. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
And I think the 2X is a nice lens because it kind of takes away that traditional iPhone focal length and it punches in, so it looks a little more cinematic. I kind of like that. I thought it was, I don't know, I just thought it looked nice.
Yeah, I think overall, if you're shooting on the XS Max and you have that as your main camera and you want to shoot on it, not talking selfie lens, but the main back camera, if you can just shoot in good light, I think you're totally fine.
Going to the slow-mo. Slow-mo's still trash.
So we are out here, a nice bright sunny day, going behind the boat. The slow-mo still looks like garbage. I don't know why.
It just looks like a bad image that's just like crank contrast, crank sharpness to try to fix it. Like, like I don't really think there's a difference between
like the
XS
resolution
Max.
says it's 1080p, but it does not look.
It
looks like
1080p.
upscaled like 360p. It is fun if you just like we put the footage on our computer. We're looking at it on a nice big display. That's when you can really tell like how it's holding up.
That's when you can pixel peep.
Yeah, you can pixel peep there.
Yeah.
If you shoot 240 on your phone, it looks okay. Like I've shot skating and it's fun still. And if you just are putting that on Instagram, like awesome.
Or on Twitter
like,
or something small.
Yeah, I
it's
still
like
do that. But I think in general, we're coming at this review from a little bit more like, let's look at the footage and critique it. Last thing I will say with video, the 11 Pro has a juiced up battery, which if you're using this phone as like your main video camera, for instance, video's traditionally something that drains your phone really fast. Noticeably different, better battery life.
Also, the screen is much brighter. So if you are shooting in like direct sunlight, on the XS Max, sometimes it's hard to see your screen, but now with the 11 Pro, because there's more nits, there's more brightness, it's easier to see when you're shooting in direct sunlight. I was talking to Patrick Tommaso, and we're just waiting for someone to come up with a third-party app where you can use your phone as like an external, not an external recorder, but like as like an external monitor for your camera.
Thanks for sitting through this. I know it's a little bit longer video, a little bit different format. Overall, would you upgrade?
What do we think? Hold on.
Would you upgrade? Is it worth it?
I have already upgraded. So I upgraded. I think part of the reason I upgraded is just because we work in the phone space. So it's almost a forced function of being in this industry is you have to upgrade. But I will say I was a little hesitant at first. My XS was great, but I am really enjoying this phone. Like the super wide on here is just a fun lens. I dig that the selfie camera is a little better now just for like vlogging clips of like, no, seriously, because like for vlogging clips of like me, my wife, my baby, that's super fun. And I do think the colors are cool and the battery life, the brightness.
I do think it's worth the upgrade if you're, like Niles was saying, in this kind of creative space with tech at all. I do actually think it's worth it.
And if you want to shoot on your phone a lot, if you want to use your phone as a filmmaking tool, as a photography tool, then I would say upgrade because it's a smartphone that can do a lot of other things other than shoot, but what it shoots now is really impressive.
And if you think about it, like if you own this phone outright, the XS Max, you could probably sell it, you know, get about half back going into the next one. So if you think about upgrades, how like camera bodies work, or like someone had the A7, A7S too, it's just one of those things that if you are in it, if you're not in it and you've had this phone, like you're like, I finally got this phone last year, I'm loving the camera, it's got 4K 24, 4K 60, shoots all the same photo features. It doesn't have the super wide, but you can get moment lenses for it. And literally We want to do a video about that after. Moment lenses with this, in a lot of ways, because the aperture is still that f1.8, is better than the super wide in low light situations and different stuff.
All right, so we've been grinding on this video for a couple days. Caleb's gonna go edit this beast right now. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions or any concerns, let us know in the comments below.
I'm concerned, dude.
Yeah.
Pre-order your iPhone, if you are upgrading, pre-order your iPhone 11 moment case right now.
I hated how that looked, and it's already grown on me.
Nice.
I don't know how Apple does that. I think they've hypnotized me into liking whatever they make, but truly, like, dude, actually that is still kind of ugly.
And it's alright. You being a coward, only fearing you'll change mine. So on every referendum you can hide. Straight ticket, never alright.